guys, what's up? Totoro here, keeping me sane. So today I'm going to be reviewing a highly requested product review. That is the Cosrx Advanced 92 All-in-One Snail Cream. I have purchased this on iHerb, and I have to say I have kind of enjoyed using it. I've made it through about, I don't know if you can see this here, I've made it through about 2/3 of this 100-gram jar. And I actually like it quite a bit. This is 92% snail secretion filtrate. What can I tell you about snail filtrate and snail secretions? I have to say, as far as these cosmeceutical type ingredients in a lot of the K-beauty stuff that is touted as helpful, the snail secretions and the snail filtrate, there is actually quite a bit, well, not quite a bit. I mean, I don't want to overhype this, but there is actually some handfuls of pretty decent studies looking at this for not only for certain medical conditions, which I'll talk about, but also for, you know, your anti-aging kind of benefit. First up, snail secretion derives from this mollusk. It's got a long name, Cryptoanthalus aspera. And a group of researchers showed that snail secretion filtrates are rich in something called glycosaminoglycans, which are can function actually almost as growth factors and potentially serve as sources for helping things regenerate, which in our skin is very helpful when we're dealing with dry skin, aging skin, photoaging, and an impaired skin barrier. And medical scientists and researchers actually have taken this, not the Cosrx one, but have taken snail filtrate and done studies on it, looking at it in the setting of something called radiation dermatitis. Patients who get radiation for different types of cancers, their skin is affected as a consequence. It is damaged, and they can develop these horrible, painful rashes, almost like a burn, very, very uncomfortable, and it is wounded skin that needs help regenerating. And snail secretion filtrate actually has been shown to help expedite the restoration of that damaged skin barrier in radiation dermatitis. It has also been studied in wound healing and has been shown to enhance wound healing. Thirdly, it has also been studied in the setting of a burn, of burned skin. So potentially the glycosaminoglycans from the filtrate are actually offering some maybe growth factor potential, or maybe just a wonderful humectant probably, that helps in skin regeneration and helps in wound healing. When we have a wound in our skin, the new skin cells have to kind of dance into place, and that can be very, very challenging, particularly if the wound bed is dry, parched, inflamed. So having a nice moisturizing surface on there can help expedite that. And if it's rich in growth factors like this has been shown to be, then you know that kind of supports more of a mechanism for a more robust outcome. Now, what about an anti-aging effect? So the studies are a little bit more limited, but they do exist. Specifically, there was a study looking at application of 40% snail secretion extract and an 8% one on little fine wrinkles and lines around the eyes, periocular wrinkles, or, you know, little crow's feet and that sort of thing. And people who applied either the 8% filtrate or the 40% filtrate, they both saw a substantial improvement in those fine wrinkles and lines. Now, that was that was graded just based on appearance, as well as the researchers took a silicone impression of the wrinkles and compared it before and after. So not like the most compelling assays out there for measuring effects on the skin, but suffice it to say the subjects were happy, and it did appear to improve the appearance of that. Probably through a moisturizing effect. I mean, when we use moisturizers on our skin, you can see a similar benefit. So probably, you know, as far as we can tell, at least if anything, it does that. So what you should know about that study, however, is that the 8% snail filtrate in that and the 40% snail filtrate in that, Those were proprietary filtrates from a company called Biopel, which makes a variety of products. And the study itself was sponsored by Biopel, and the researchers are a consultant for Biopel. So there is a substantial bias there in that study. And again, without super robust assays to measure outcome, you kind of have to be a little bit critical of the results. But hey, you know, a little promising. There's also another study out there that used these products as well, the Biopel products, not Cosrx, and showed a similar improvement in kind of skin suppleness, hydration. That study, however, was not placebo-controlled, so it's hard to know that it was the filtrate and not really just the fact that the subjects were putting on basically a moisturizer. So we don't know that the glycosaminoglycans in this, if any, are really functional or really doing anything more than just CeraVe moisturizing cream in the tub, or, you know, Equate moisturizing cream in the tub might offer. All right, but what about Cosrx? Cosrx uses a slightly different filtrate from a different species of snail, but this particular product contains 92% snail filtrate. Those of you out there may be wondering, how exactly is the snail filtrate acquired? Is this, you know, it sounds pretty cruel. And in actuality, it's the way it's done, or at least my understanding of the way it's done, I've read papers on this, is that the snails are they are held in captivity, but they're kind of free-range snails. They're allowed to go free-range on this grate, and they come out, you know, at night. They're sort of nocturnal creatures, and that's when they produce these secretions. And they let them, you know, kind of crawl around over a grate, and whatever secretions they deposit, that is then collected and used for the filtrate. And the snails are not stressed out, is my understanding, because what we know is that when snails are overexert themselves, or are stressed out, or are traumatized in any way, they actually alter the composition of their secretions. And so if anything, you know, that wouldn't be ideal. They produce fewer of the glycosaminoglycans, I believe, and I think they also produce some other potentially inflammatory substance that could contaminate the filtrate and have untoward effects on the skin. So they're actually babied and allowed to be free range on this grate. You know, many of you out there really want vegan, cruelty-free skincare products, and, you know, from an ethical perspective, I can see why you might want to avoid snails. You know, they are held in captivity. They're not out and about. You know, here in Houston, you know, we have plenty of free-range snails. Every morning you wake up and there's, you know, snails hanging out. But you know, I can see where many of you out there, regardless of how the snails are treated, you don't like the idea of an animal being held in captivity to produce something especially for cosmetic benefit. But you know, that is how, at least for a lot of the medical studies, that is how the filtrate was collected, and supposedly that is how the Cosrx filtrate is collected. Cosrx uses a different snail species. It uses, instead of the Cryptophthalmos, it uses the African snail. So all the studies looking at wound healing and radiation dermatitis, burns, those were all done with Cryptophthalmos. I haven't seen any studies with the African snail, but, you know, you might posit that it likewise is a rich source of glycosaminoglycans as well. Obviously, I've been using the Cosrx Snail 92 Advanced All-in-One Cream. I bought this, I think I bought this over a year ago, and it's been on my list of like things to review, and I'm just, you know, I kind of forget about it. I'm like, oh, I've got to review that. Let me start using it again so it's fresh in my mind, and that's how I made it through 2/3 of it. Just you know, with my YouTube goals to review it for you guys because you asked for it. But I actually like it, but the way to use this is not by itself as a moisturizer. Just apply a thin film of it. You really don't need much. See, it comes out kind of tacky and sticky and slimy. You really don't need much. You know, just dot it around the eyes here, or wherever you want. You know, if you want it around the eyes because you're targeting wrinkles around that area, just put a thin film around there and then, you know, you can seal it in with a moisturizer. Don't use it by itself. All right, so you can see I have that thin film. And then you want to come over it with just a plain moisturizer. I'm using the Cosrx Ultimate Nourishing Rice Spa Overnight Mask, which is basically a light lotion. You just want to kind of seal that in. The reason to put a moisturizer on over the snail filtrate is that it is a humectant. It's not a moisturizer by itself. And what happens is when you just put a humectant on your face, like say you just put glycerin on the face, which is a humectant, it actually can increase water loss from the skin if you don't seal it in with an occlusive. And so I like pairing the snail filtrate with the Cosrx Ultimate Nourishing Rice Spa Overnight Mask, as you just saw me do. To kind of use the two together and prevent the snail filtrate from just drying up on there, basically. If you've ever observed a snail in its natural habitat in the morning, you might see it secreting that slime behind it, and then as the snail goes away, if you observe that trail that it leaves, it kind of dries on there. So imagine that on your skin. That's not really what you want. The humectant from the filtrate is not really going to be enough to actually hydrate the skin. You need to seal it. You need to seal it on there with a more occlusive moisturizer. Similar to how I've talked about in my other videos when you're using a humectant gel, like say for example the Red Earth Deep Dive cream that I use, or the Hada Labo Plumping Gel Cream. These are all humectants, and remember, when you use a humectant, whether it be snail filtrate, whether it be aloe, whether it be a hyaluronic acid gel cream, you have to come on over it with a more occlusive moisturizer. And don't fear the word occlusive and translate that into pore clogging, because it simply is not. But overall, I have been really happy with the snail cream, and I'm really enjoying it. I think it is something to consider. It's got some evidence behind it, and hopefully I described a little bit about how it is collected in a way that, you know, you can make a decision as far as your stance on using snail serums ethically. I don't know that they necessarily offer anything that much more substantive over, say, aloe gel cream or any other humectant, but I've really been happy with it, and there is that limited amount of data to show that it does improve fine wrinkles around the eyes. So for those of you out there who are always asking me about crepey skin under the eyelids, maybe this is something to consider. But I hope this video was helpful to you guys. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and as always, don't forget, sunscreen and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.